So I'm going to take a eraser and just lighten it even more so that it's much lighter. And you'll see eventually, if you practice, you know, just painting freehand, you'll eventually be able to draw your own flowers as well. But we're focusing on beginners, and if you don't want to do that, if you don't have the time and you just want to paint, this is perfectly fine to use graphite paper. The other way is that in the video where I showed you how to turn the picture around, you use a graphite pencil and you just rub it all over the paper, and then you turn it back over, and then you put it on your watercolor paper and you trace it. That's also, I will just show you that video again. It's very easy to use. This one is in my garden flowering at the moment. Came up after the rain. And then I always use like a little brush just to wipe over the paper so that you don't have any oil on your hands on your paper, because wherever you have oil or cream on your hands and you touch it on your paper, no paint will go there, so it will sort of just move over that section. So make sure that your hands are clean. And I will show you the colors that we're going to use for this Viola, and it will all be the Mission watercolors that I ordered from Amazon, which are beautiful colors. I haven't made any swatches yet, but I will make the swatches. Most of them are single pigmented colors. Maybe look at the purple here that they have, which is very translucent and transparent. Beautiful colors. I want it to look like you can see through the petals. So that is a beautiful color that we will use. And we'll show you the flower that we will be painting. So that is the light yellow. And then for that red purple mix, I'm gonna maybe go with a quinacridone Crimson Lake, which, let's see, could be this one. That is quite pretty, but I need a little drop of the purple in there. So that's the violet, and then I'll just drop a drop. That's a bit too much. I'm going to just lift it out with my brush, and as you can see, the colors are, again, this is a PR202, so it's single pigmented colors, which are beautiful. And if you layer them, they become these beautiful layers of two different colors. You can lift it out. That is a beautiful color, but I might want to add a drop of red. So I see there's a quinacridone. I should just write the names down here. I haven't had a moment to do that. Yes, I'm going to drop a little bit of this quinacridone permanent rose in here. That is stunning too. Wow. I'm going to go with those colors. So we'll start with that. We're going to do the first layer. The first layers of this Viola flower, and then we're going to leave it to dry completely. So I'm going to get a new little plate. These are all the leaves for the rose painting that I did, which I still use, but half of them are now dry, but I still use some of them. I'm just going to move it out the way, and then let's use this little palette to mix the colors. And then the brushes, I will use my Da Vinci brush number 2 and this Venus round small brush. It's a 30 brush, and then we'll go with a big round brush just to wet the bigger sections on this Viola. So we enlarged this painting, so it's much bigger than what it is in real life, but that's fine. the colors we said we're going to go with, hello, will be this. Which color is this now again? Quinacridone Permanent Rose. This is the Quinacridone Permanent Rose, and you don't need a lot. We want it to look transparent. We're going to use a drop of this purple, which is the Quinacridone Crimson Lake. No, that is a violet. That's a red violet. Sorry, that is a bright clear violet. So that's a bright clear violet. Yes. Then this is the red violet, which I'm going to mix on the side here because I want all of those two colors to mix together there. Anyway, I'll write the colors down. So this is the red violet, and this is the bright violet, and then this is the Quinacridone Crimson Lake. I'm just going to write it down quickly so that we remember. Okay, so I didn't press record. This is the yellow that I added on the palette now, which is the permanent yellow light. Like I said, it is a single pigment, and single pigments, if you layer them, they won't cause any muddy colors. Where if you use a color that is already mixed in a tube that have like 3 different pigments in, it's very easy to create muddy colors if you mix your own colors. And then this is the Quinacridone Permanent Rose, the bright violet, and the Quinacridone Crimson Lake. So those are the colors that we will use for the Viola. Then you move this out the way so it can dry, because now it's wet. Make sure your table's nice and neat and clean and everything's packed away, so that you don't have a total mess like I have on my desk right now. So I didn't use the washi tape. I'm going to pack it away. Make sure your water is clean. You can have 1 glass with dirty water to rinse your brush off first, and then mix it, then rinse it again in your clean water. So make sure you have 2 glasses of water. And my line drawing is much darker because of the video, so that you can see it, because it will be too light for you to see with a video. So mine is much darker than yours would be. So make sure you just trace it very lightly and rub it out. And this paper is a cheap watercolor paper. It's not expensive. It's not Archer's hot press watercolor paper. So any paper will do, because we will try not to scrub too much. And clean water. So I'm going to start with this section here. But I'm not going to go in there because that's yellow. So we're going to start with this first. You just move it in view. Of course, you have your little dirty towel here to wipe your brush on. And wherever you wet the paper, the paint will flow. So just remember that. So if you wet outside this line, your paint will go there. It's watercolor. So we don't want any puddles. You want a soft sheen on your paper. So if I hold my phone like this and I record it, you will see there's no puddles of water. It's like there's a pearl shine or sheen on the paper. And that's what you want. So when you leave it for a second to absorb into the paper, that's exactly what you want. Number 2 Da Vinci brush. Oops. And we want a very watery violet first. I might have to mix in a bit of blue. Let me see what blue we have here, because it's too violet, too purple. So let's go with the ultramarine deep. which is this one, yeah. I'm going to mix a little bit. Oh, that's perfect. I just want to add that on the paper too. Let me just pop it down there. So I'm going to take a bit more of that purple. I want to mix like a blue violet. And there you go. Now we're going to drop it in. Let's go from here. And then you just wipe your brush and move it around. Because we want it to be very, very light. Just take your brush and move it. So I don't go to the edge yet because I'll pull it to there. Now again, like I said, my pencil markings will be much darker than yours because I have to show you on the video what I'm doing and you will not be able to see the watercolor markings. Yes, Dee. And then you just pull it to the edge of the flower. Move it around. So I'm going to try and lighten these little pencil markings a little bit more. Because mine's very dark. Take it right up to there. And then I'm going to drop in that darker purple there. I want a bit more of this violet color here. And then you just leave it. I'm going to drop in a little bit more of the blue, the ultra blue, that ultramarine blue. Okay, so just drop in a little bit more. I want it slightly darker. You'll have to layer quite a lot to get the perfect color. Yes, Dee. Now leave that to dry. And we're going to go to this section here at the top now. So we're going to go to that one there. Just want to see if I can lighten these little pencil lines a bit more. They are very dark. You don't want to hurt the paper because watercolor paper is not very strong paper, as you can see now there. Even if you rub out softly, you can ruin the paper. So I want to wet this section completely. There's too much water on my brush. I'm just going to wipe some off on the little towel and then just move it around. Okay, I'm going to go in with this blue violet mix again, and this one a bit darker, so we're going to drop it in there. Might have to mix a bit more color later, but that's fine. And then I'm going to dab my brush and just move the paint around. So I want it much lighter here, so I'm going to flick it up. And soften it. Always dab your brush on paper or a towel before you put it on the paper, because the minute you have too much, let me just show you, if you have too much water on your brush and you just go in like this, do you see that? That is a watercolor bloom, and it's because you have too much water on your brush. So to prevent that, you just dab it on tissue or on your towel, and then you go in and you soften those little markings. Now to be careful, I have to lift out some of that excess water that I just dropped in there to show you. See all of that water? You don't want that. So now you're just going to lift some out with your brush. You don't want to dry your brush too much now, because you also don't want to lift out any highlights. And this way you can adjust your colors. And I absolutely love the way this pigment flows in the watercolor. It's amazing. Staining watercolor is very difficult to remove because it stains immediately, so it's very difficult to take off even with a scrubber brush, because it will stain your paper. We want to be careful. We don't want to paint into those little white highlighted sections there now, so you can use masking fluid if you want to at this stage. And if you don't have masking fluid as a beginner, I highly recommend it. I'm going to pick up quite a lot of this beautiful yellow. I'm going to drop it in there, take it in there. Okay, so we're going to push it down like this, because we don't want it to flow into this purple. It's quite a dark color, quite a thick consistency, and quite dark compared to the rest of this little section here. I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm just going to slightly move some of it up. There's not a lot of water on my brush, and that's it. And I'm going to lift out some of it. There you go. I'm going to leave that to dry completely now, and then we're going to mix the little inside little lines that we want for these little sections here. I'm going to take my bigger brush, rinse it off, and we want to soften all of those little hard lines there. So I'm just going to do soft glaze with my brush, but be careful, you don't want all of this now to go everywhere. So just pick it up, make sure you have your tissue handy, lift up some of the excess water, soften those little water markings if you don't like them. I don't mind them, I love them. Pick up some of that excess water again. So we're going to take the brush, push it down, and then lift up. So again, put the tip down, push it down, and then lift it up. Push it down and lift it up. And then from this side, let me just turn my arm and push down and lift up. Very light little strokes. So I'm going to do a very soft water glaze later, but I want those little lines to be hard, so I'm not going to touch it yet. And then you can fold this paper right through the middle, and you can create a beautiful card. I'm going to leave this to dry and come back later to see if I have to darken certain sections again, but for now I'm quite happy with that, so I think I'm going to leave it like that for now. A tiny little viola.